right, so let's get started. This is episode 25 of Toolbox Tuesday. We'll be going over our distribution control center, our ShipRush tool, and our consolidated shipping tool. The quick agenda for today, like always, we're going to start with some of the common gaps that everybody sees today in Business Central. Then we're going to talk about some of the solutions that we've created in order to make that just a little bit easier for the users as well as any partners implementing for their end users. Like I said, we're going to be going through a live demo of these three tools, and then we'll finish it up with the next steps that you can kind of take in order to be successful with a free trial, as well as potentially using that full-blown tool in your production environment. Also go over some resources that you can use to help along the way. And then I have Q&A here, but I highly encourage everyone to just ask questions in the chat as we go. It's much easier, I find, to answer them while we're on a topic rather than revisiting everything at the end. So again, ask those questions in the chat. Matt and I will attempt to answer them throughout the presentation. And with that, let's go ahead and start with some of the gaps. So we're going through three tools, so there's a lot of things on here. I'll go through these fairly quickly, but currently, right, it's tough to manage kind of that pick, pack, ship process without using warehouse documents, which I know a lot of people are probably familiar with these documents, but for some clients, they find that these are kind of overbearing or unnecessary. We've made that process a little bit easier. Again, there's no ability to automatically release those documents to the warehouse currently when a sales order is released. No easy way for sales, customer service, warehouse kind of to all be in sync as to where documents are. Again, it's kind of mundane with the current process. So we've made that easier. Next, no out-of-box way to integrate various shipping providers and kind of bring that information back into the sales orders in BC, as well as the sales order information over to the shipping carriers like UPS, FedEx. We'll talk about all of that with our ShipRush tool here in a second, and then bringing all of that freight cost and tracking number and that kind of stuff back into BC. And then the final piece, which consolidated shipping will solve, right? Currently not really an easy way to process or get visibility on those consolidated shipments for multiple orders, kind of combining into one. No easy way to print some of those standard documents or even some of those custom documents that we've added into consolidated shipping, like your commercial invoices, your BOLs, things like that. And then finally, no easy way to get notifications when shipments go out, things like that. So with that, how do we solve for those, right? So the first tool we're going to talk about is DCC, our distribution control center. This is going to streamline that pick, pack, ship process directly from the sales order for your customer directly to the warehouse. Also, we have the ability to automatically release these sales orders like we talked about previously. When we release them, it'll automatically release them to the warehouse to start their process. And then just really streamlining that purchase receiving functionality and process, and also allowing you to attach pictures and do receiver notifications, many things like that. And then the final piece being some cycle count and inventory adjustment pieces. We've made that a little bit easier as well, which Matt will show on handheld devices and things like that. Second tool we're going to be talking about is ShipRush. So like I talked about earlier, this is calling out to ShipRush from BC, taking that sales order information and kind of shopping around USPS, UPS, FedEx, DHL, et cetera, right? Then bringing those freight costs back into Business Central. You can pass them straight through. You can mark them up. There's a lot of different options there that we'll talk about. Also is going to pull back that tracking information and then fulfilling, just making the fulfillment of these orders in Business Central a little bit easier and readily available to ship. And then finally, just some printing of some common, things like packing labels, packing slips, all that good stuff for your shipments directly out of ShipRush, and Business Central is part of that integration process. The final piece, again, there's going to be a lot of information today, a lot of good tools, but the final piece is going to be consolidated shipping. Again, just think taking multiple orders, putting them into one shipment, making this process much easier and giving you the option to consolidate invoices or still invoice those orders separately. We have some additional ability to attach pictures. We've got blind shipping. So again, think shipping to your customer's customer. So not necessarily seeing our information when we ship, but kind of, again, blind shipping that to the end customer. And then just having central locations to print things like your shipping checklist, master packing list, labels. You can read the bullet points there, HTS commercial invoices, certificate of origin, things like that. So everyone knows I don't really love PowerPoint, so we're going to jump straight into the live demo, but did want to quickly go over those gaps and those solutions just to make sure you're in the right spot. Matt, with that, I'll let you jump over to the demo and show us some of these cool tools in Business Central.
Great. Yep. Thank you, Ben. Without further ado, we'll go ahead and get right into it. I like to always start with the setup screens. So here I'm going to go through DCC and ShipRush, go through that setup, live demo, and then we'll double back and go through MSO at the end. All right, so first piece here is going to be this distribution control center setup. So again, just some brief call outs here. You'll see here we've got it activated, auto release to warehouse. So like Ben said, upon releasing that sales order, it'll automatically release it to the warehouse, and then updating the shipment and post date. So once that shipment eventually does go out, this is saying, hey, update whatever that actual posting date is to the date that the shipment was actually sent. All right, and then on the pick pack side, we've got just our assignment of the number series, the pick batch print options. This will be if I've got multiple orders in one pick batch, how do I want to print those pick tickets? In this case, I've got one master ticket and then print each order separately. I could also just do each order separately or only that master ticket or not print any pick sheets there. All right, batch ticket location option. Here I'm pulling from the shelf number for the item. So this will be wherever the item is. I could also have a default bin code set up on the item bin content page or whatever that oldest inventory is from the item ledger entries. All right, next I've got notify for short pick on and then that short pick email. So for any reason, if I do short pick an order, if I'm not able to completely pick it, it's going to go ahead and send an email notification to that defined email here. All right, and then here I've got create cycle count task on short pick. So again, if I did have a short pick, it's going to go ahead and notify this email here, and then also create a cycle count task assigned to this user that I've defined here. All right, and then print pack list on pick completion. So upon completing the pick, you can either not print a pack list, ask it to print, or print automatically. Again, I'll show that, and then just a memo field here. And then on the PO receiving side, same thing. So what do I want to do with that put away report? Do I want to do nothing? Do I want to show that put away page, or do I want to print the put away report? All right, and then when posting directly from that PO view on the warehouse tablet, again, I can either have it set to default, receive only, or receive and invoice upon posting that. Right, and then again, show bin on PO receives. This will allow me to show that bin that item should be received into, and then default that posting date to the work date again to actually post that receipt. All right, and then I'm going to hit DCC and ShipRush, the live demo 1-in-1. So we'll just go through this setup real quick as well. Again, here I've got ShipRush activated. Expand this here. Next, I've got add freight line on post. So this will add a line for that freight, whatever that charge is that comes back from ShipRush. It's going to go against this GL account number with this description on the sales order and the sales invoice, and then that posting option, whether I want to only post the shipment or if I want to post the shipment and the invoice when I post that shipment from ShipRush. All right, and then freight markup percent with ShipRush, we allow you to bring that freight back from ShipRush. And then if you want to mark that up to the eventual customer, you go ahead and define how much you want to mark that up here. So in this case, I'm saying whatever the charge is from ShipRush, pass that plus 10% back to the customer. Right, and then show bin on sales order shipment. So it'll just show that bin code field on the ship sales order page, and then add a package tracking line. So this is going to add a dedicated line to that sales order and to that sales invoice with the package tracking number. All right. Seeing some questions come through, but Ben, looks like you've got it handled.
Yep, all good for now. We're good to keep on going.
All right, awesome. All right, a few additional setup fields down at the customer level. Shipment tab. All right, so this first piece, I know I didn't go through the MSO setup yet, but I don't want to have to go through the customer card twice. This is going to be advanced shipment notices from that master shipping order or master sales order. So again, do I want to include a master packing list? Do I want to include that bill of lading and those other documents that Ben talked about in that shipment notice that goes out to the customer? All right, and then this will be on the ShipRush side. So define per customer if you either want to charge them ShipRush freight or not. If they have a UPS or a FedEx account number that they want to just charge all of their shipping charges against through ShipRush, I would define that number here, and then a threshold for free freight. So if the sales invoice is above this amount, it won't charge that freight back to them. They'll get free shipping on anything that's above that amount. Right? And then last is just a ship to emails. This will get passed over to ShipRush for notifications that go out directly from ShipRush to the customer once you've printed that shipping label. All right, so think here like FedEx, if you've ever received a shipment, you'll get that email that's like, hey, label's been printed, it's not yet in our system. ShipRush will do something very similar, whether it's FedEx, UPS, DHL, or any other carrier. All right, and then like Ben said, we've also got the option for blind shipping. So here I can define, do I want a name and logo? Do I want the address only? Or a name, logo, and an address? And then this will just populate what shows on that shipment. So ideally you would enter that, this customer's information here, right? And then this is what will show to that eventual end customer that's actually receiving the shipment. All right. So onto the DCC side here, I'm going to create a new sales order. Customer there. And just go in, enter my requested delivery date. All right, and then here you'll see we've got this DCC, Distribution Control Center pane. So I could manually release this to the warehouse. Again, once I actually release this sales order, it'll automatically go. But here I can assign an order priority. So I'll say this is a high priority order, and I want the warehouse to double pack this order, please. All right. From there, I will go ahead and add my item. So I'm going to send them 4 of these Berlin guest chairs, or actually we'll do 5. All right. And then again, as soon as I release this sales order, you'll notice that Distribution Control Center release to warehouse toggle gets enabled. And so from here, now if I go to the actual Distribution Control Center page, you'll see I've got a few different process statuses, as well as just any order that's been either open, in process, or anything else, right? So up here on the filter, you'll see I can go to what's available, right? I assign that as priority. So back on that sales order, depending on the priority that I include, it's going to just list that first. All right, so this is that sales order that I just created, and I'm going to go ahead and create my pick batch for this order. All right, so here I just assign who the user is that's going to be handling this pick, then select OK. All right, and then it's going to say confirm master ticket print. I'll say yes, and then that's going to go ahead and print that order pick ticket for me. So again, here I've got those Berlin guest chairs, everything coming from that sales order, as well as my warehouse instructions up here. And then I'll also show that on the actual pick side where those come through. All right, so again, since that process status, I was filtered on just what's available, you'll notice that one order is now gone. I can go ahead and click on picked or being picked, and I'll see that sales order ending in 32 that I just created the pick batch for. All right, you'll also see up here 2 of these orders have items that are short. In this case, I have enough quantity on hand to fulfill this sales order, so there aren't any items short. If I entered a quantity that I didn't have on hand, it would tell me, hey, you've got items short. And then if you remember, that would also send off an email notification to that assigned email, and then create a cycle count task for that assigned user. All right, so now kind of switching roles here. Again, this is just one user going through the demo, but in practice, you would likely have a different dedicated warehouse user that would be completing this pick, right? So this is going to be our DCC warehouse tablet role center. So see, I've got warehouse tablet DCC. This is really designed for use on a tablet, but again, you could use it on a Chromebook or just a standard computer if you've got that in the warehouse. All right, so from here, I'll drill into my pick batch, and you'll see this batch that just got created. Again, you could have more than one order in a pick batch. Up here, you'll see this one's got 4 with 3 lines. But in this case, I just have one order since it's a high priority order here. All right, so from here, the warehouse would go ahead and start this pick, confirm they want to start that pick, and then again, you'll see those warehouse instructions that I entered on the sales order popping up for the actual warehouse to see. All right, so from here, I'll click OK. I've got my pick counter here, so this is 1 of 1. Again, I just have one order. If I had 2 orders in this batch, it would be 1 of 2. And then again, it'll show me my item number here and that sales order document number. All right, on the quantity picked from the warehouse's end, they could either just go ahead and enter 5 if they're picking 5. Alternatively, they could scan each of those items into the pick. So here, I don't know if you guys can see this, but I've got my label for these chairs, so I'll go ahead and scan it. All right, so I just click on this field. Scan it, then tab off, and it's going to count up each time that I go in and scan this item. Right, so and I could go in, scan the remaining 3. For the sake of time, I'm just going to enter in that quantity that I've picked. Right, and then once I've picked that full quantity, those warehouse instructions will pop back up so they can't be missed. All right, from here, I've got my quantity to pick 5, quantity picked 5, so I'm going to go ahead and complete this batch. All right, and then if you remember at the setup level, I had the option set to ask if I want to print the packing list. So if I had it set to automatically, it would have just immediately downloaded. But in this case, I'll click yes, and it's going to go ahead and download that packing slip for me. Again, just to show that packing slip, you've got your item number, the description, unit of measure, that quantity ordered, quantity shipped. If this was a short pick, it would have given me that quantity back order that I wasn't able to pick. All right, so back to BC. Again, you'll see that batch number is now cleared from my view. Since it's completed, I could go in and resume this 10004 batch or start this 1001. In this case, I'm going to go back to the kind of warehouse manager overview and see that order that has just been picked and packed. All right, so again, maintaining that status, document number, and all of the customer information here. All right, from here, I'm ready to ship this order out to the customer. You'll see we've got 2 options here. So ship order, this would be just a standard shipment that I'm processing with ShipRush, or dispatch order. Dispatch is another application that we've got in the BC Toolbox. This just allows you to handle deliveries with like your owned like vans or trucks. There's a lot to that extension, so we won't get too into it. But Ben can send some links in the chat if anyone's.
I just put a link in the chat if anybody that does their own deliveries and is not going to be using the ShipRush tool. We use this for handful of clients that does their own deliveries as well as their own pickups. You can do this both with packages that you're just dropping off, or maybe returns that you're picking up, or our rental items, which we're having a Toolbox Tuesday on next month, I believe it is. So I'll send that link as well. But drop the dispatch management in the chat if anybody's interested in doing their own deliveries and pickups.
Awesome. Thanks, Ben. All right. So again, at this point, I'd be ready to go ahead and ship this order. Again, off to the right here, we've got some details just on when it was released to the warehouse, what time, who released it, when it was assigned, right? And then when that pick ticket was printed, and who printed that pick ticket. So again, this isn't very useful here because I was the only user doing it. But again, in practice, you would likely have different users assigned to those different tasks there. All right. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and ship this order. So again, all that information flowing through from that sales order. So the ship to address, all the name information, and then I've got this package down here, right? All this information is blank for now. I'm going to go ahead and launch ShipRush to start populating that there. All right. So again, here in ShipRush, I've only got one carrier set up. I believe it's FedEx. But again, if I had more than one carrier, I would be able to define and pick from that kind of like rate shopping, right? This is also the sandbox environment, so it doesn't have the rates showing here. But in the production environment, it also estimates those rates off to the right here. All right, so I'll go ahead and pick my service. On the payment side, again, if this customer had a FedEx account, it would have brought that account number in. In this case, I'm going to pay for this as the sender. All right, and enter my weight and my dimensions here. And then when I go ahead and click this ship button, it'll tell me that freight charge and then also print to whatever printer I have set up. A few different options on the ShipRush side. You can either have it download that label directly to your device, or you can have a cloud printer set up in the warehouse. And what that'll do is automatically print that label out once I hit that ship option in ShipRush. Right.
Quick question for you, Matt, while we're going through that. So we've got a question for: how will ShipRush handle ship to and bill to customers? We want freight to be charged to the account mentioned on the bill to customer card when we ship to other ship to customers, which will have their bill to as different customers.
Freight to be charged to the account mentioned on the bill to. So it's all going to be dependent on what's on the sales order. So if you remember at the setup level, I have that charge freight as its own line. So really whoever the bill to is on that invoice is who's eventually going to get charged for the freight. Alternatively, if that bill to has a FedEx account, then you would just enter that. They would get charged for just the shipping. And then if the bill to is the actual customer on the invoice, then they would get charged for the remainder of like the actual items.
Let us know if that answers your question, or if you have any follow-ups, we'd be happy to answer those as well.
Perfect. All right. And then here, so this customer by default was not being charged ShipRush freight. I'm going to go ahead and toggle that on. And then back down to the lines here. So you'll remember I showed that sales order package with none of the information. And then after launching ShipRush and actually processing that shipment, I've now got the package tracking number, that freight cost, that charge, which is going to be that cost plus 10% going back to the customer, and then the weight, dimensions, and any declared value if I would have entered that in ShipRush. All right, so one other thing to call out, it'll also bring in that shipping agent code, so whether it be FedEx, UPS, DHL, or USPS back from ShipRush. All right. From here, I'm going to go ahead and post this shipment. If you recall, back on the ShipRush setup page, I have that post shipment option set to post both the shipment and the invoice. So when I go ahead and do this directly from this page, it's going to actually post the shipment and the invoice off of that sales order. You also see it was pretty brief, but it said posting lines 4. Let me just bring up that posted sales invoice to show it. It was this one. Perfect. Yep. So again, you'll see this was the only line that I'd created on the sales order, and then it's adding that GL account for the shipping and handling, with that shipping charge plus 10%, and then also adding that tracking number as its own line. Additionally, if you've got your invoice set up to have that package tracking number as its own field, we also write that back to that standard BC field. Main use case for having it on the lines is, again, if you've got multiple shipments going out and then invoicing at the end, it'll give you all of your tracking numbers on that invoice there. All right.
Quick other question, Matt, while you're transitioning over there, will the weight also be carried to the posted invoice?
I don't believe there's a field in BC for that. Let me check on the shipping tab. No, so it doesn't look like they're, so not on the base BC, like there's no base BC field on the shipping and billing tab for it, but that ShipRush package, if you remember that I showed, all of that information will get brought back. So again, if you had multiple packages here, it would tell you that package number, the tracking number, and then all of the information for each of those packages.
Yeah, so if we needed to get that on a posted document or something like that for any reason, we could likely customize a custom form, but it wouldn't be there by default.
Yep. Perfect. All right, good deal. So back to just the general DCC overview. Again, that's going to be everything on the pick, pack, and ship side. So again, I showed that pick batch. Next, we've got the cycle count. So I don't have any scheduled right now based on those short picks, but you'll see if I go in and click that. If I did have one scheduled, it would pop up for me. But in this case, it's saying you do not have any scheduled cycle counts. Would you like to create one? I'll go ahead and say yes. I'm going to scan that same label that I scanned on the pick side. Right, so it brings in my item number there, bring in the description, and then once I enter in that location code, it'll pull in that quantity on hand, and then I would go ahead and enter that quantity counted. So in this case, BC is saying I've got 51 on hand. I'll say I actually counted 54 in my physical count. Click OK, and it's going to post that cycle count directly from this page. Right, so now if I go back in here, scan that item number again, the east location, that quantity on hand is now updated to 54. Can cycle counts be done based on bins? Yes. So again, this item isn't in a bin, but if I had a bin that it was in, that's what that quantity on hand would be based off of. And I'll also show that on the item inquiry side. And then looks like another question from Stephanie. Is there an option to hide the quantity on hand? I don't believe so, but let's see if you can. Yeah, so you could just hide that with base BC personalization there, but nothing at the actual setup level. All right. Next, we've got the PO receiving. So this is really just a simplified version of the base BC receiving that allows you to do it from a dedicated page. All right, so here I'll open this and then enter in my PO number. All right, and then it'll bring up that PO for me, and I'll say I'm ready to receive this here. All right, so again, just a much more simplified view to only focus on the receiving here. I've got my quantity to receive and my outstanding quantity too. This should be defaulted to 0. I did take a look at this one before in preparation for the demo. But if I were to click load quantity, it's going to default that quantity to receive to be that outstanding quantity there. All right, from here, I can also print this receiving checklist. We'll go in. If I wanted to physically receive on a piece of paper, right, I would print this page out, enter in all my quantities to receive, and then come back here and manually enter those quantities to receive based off what I've counted that's been sent by the vendor. All right, from here I can also notify the purchaser on that document. All right. So the order has been received in full. And it's going to go ahead and send that notification to that purchaser there. All right, from here, I can also attach a receipt if I've got anything that I need to attach here. And then also attach a picture. I don't know if this is going to work since my camera's already in use. Yeah, so my camera's already being used by Teams. But again, if you were doing this on a tablet, you would just hit attach picture, take a picture of the box or all the items, and then that'll get attached to this receipt here. right? And then from here, I'll just go ahead and post this receipt. All right. And then again, if you remember, I had that put away report set to just print it. So again, upon posting that receipt, it's going to download that put away report for me. All right. So here it's also going to show me all of the outstanding sales orders that have that item. So this Athens desk, any sales order that has that item on it will be shown here along with the quantity and the outstanding quantity. Again, just for use on putting those goods away. So like in this case, I received 2. I know that I've got a handful of customers that are waiting on this item. This one would be a good example. It's Carly ISD customer. So in this case, I would go ahead and stage that, those 2 items for shipment on this sales order here. All right, next tab is transfers. This is just going to show me all of my in-progress inventory transfers, or sorry, transfer orders, along with the status. And I could go ahead and create a new one. Again, this is just base BC, but we've added a tile to interface directly into that here. All right, and then we've got inventory move. So again, using that scan function, I'm going to go ahead, scan my item number. All right, it'll bring in my unit of measure. I'm going to say I'm going to move 5 of these from my east location. Again, if I had these in a bin, I would set that there. I could also scan in that bin code and then just define where that inventory is going to and post that movement directly from this page. All right, last but not least on DCC is going to be the item inquiry. So again, here you'll see we've got this field to scan the item number. I'll scan in that Berlin guest chair again. Right, and it'll give me that info. So here's my item number, here's my description, and then it'll give me my item locations. Again, this specific item isn't in a bin, so it's just going to be the location and the quantity on hand. But if these were in bins, they would have all of those bins listed per location there. Right, and then from here, I could also go ahead and print a label, an advanced label or a retail label, just a few different fields that pull into those based on which one I select. So again, that standard label will just be the item number and the item description. That's the one that I've been scanning to bring that in. And then the advanced label will bring in just a few more fields. Like if I have a GTIN or a standard part number, it'll get brought in there, or the manufacturer. And then the retail label will just have that sales price printed on it.
Looks like there's another question, Matt, there. If we have a value in the ERC label, do we get to see a preview of the labels?
So the only preview, sorry, I'll move this Teams bar up here. This really would be that preview, right? So I haven't printed it yet. I would go in and actually, right, print that label. In this case, I just have my standard printer connected. It's not like a Zebra printer or anything that can actually print labels, right? So if I did that, page size and all that would be defaulted in, and then I would just define the quantity of how many I'm printing.
Oh, they were wondering if they can do it at the time of the actual purchase order receipt to preview the label and then print it.
So at the time of PO receipt, it's going to just download the labels. I can show that real quick. Right, so right here, this will tell me how many labels do I want to print. So I'll say 8, 20, and then they should just download directly to my computer again. Don't know why this didn't print. But again, it would just download them directly to your computer for you to view. But there's no like preview directly in BC. Sounds good. I'll take a note of that to look into there.
But yeah, I've got them out if you want to keep going.
Perfect.
Auto download the.
Awesome. All right, so that's going to be it on the DCC side. Next, we'll go through MSO real quick. And I'll go ahead and create a new sales order. All right. So just building out my sales order here, go ahead and release that. And then down on the shipping and billing tab, you'll see I've got this master shipping orders section. So I'll go ahead and say that I'm ready to ship this. So in this case, I've got an existing MSO that does not have a cutoff date or a cutoff time. So I've already got one sales order that I've created a master shipping order off of. I'm going to go ahead and hit yes to add it to the existing. If I wanted to create a new master shipping order, I would just click no. All right, so again, because I clicked yes, it's going to assign it to that existing MSO. Then I can drill in to view it here. I could also go up to the search bar and just type in master shipping orders for a list of everything. But again, we've got that interface directly into the master shipping order right off of that sales order. Right, so at the top, we've got a bunch of options here. So I can attach a picture, which will get attached down here in the attachment section, right? Print my shipping checklist, master packing list, a label for the package, a label for the pallet. This is going to be going on a pallet, an interface directly to ShipRush again. So for time's sake, I won't go through that. It's going to be exactly what you saw on the DCC side. And then a bill of lading, commercial invoice, HTS commercial invoice, certificate of origin, certificate of compliance, and then that ASN and cutoff alert, which I won't get into. But again, just going through these header fields here. So if I have a freight class or a description of content for printing on any of those commercial invoices or certificate of origins, I can add that here. Liaison cutoff date time. So this would be the last date and time that a new order could get added to this master shipping order. So if I know this is going to go out on whatever this is, Friday the 16th, right, in the afternoon, I'll say anyone that wants to add another order for this customer to this MSO needs to do so before 8/16 at midnight. Right, and I'm going to say my expected shipment date is 8/16, and I need it to get there by the 30th. Right, and then from here, the deadline arrival option, I can either set it to flexible on the customer's end or firm. And then right now, again, the status is in pre-build. We've also got a handful of different statuses. So liaison review, in progress, locked would be, I could either manually lock it, or once it gets to this date time, it will automatically lock this MSO so no one can add anything else. All right, and then I'll go ahead and assign myself here. Again, for that HTS commercial invoice, if I do have hazardous materials, I would toggle that on here. And then upon creating this, if I didn't want any other sales orders to be added, I would just say no to others allowed here. All right, and then just some miscellaneous fields. So I can add a sales comment, a comment on the packing list, bill of lading, or on the commercial invoice. And then if I want to consolidate this invoice, so in this case, I think I've got two sales orders here. So I'm going to go ahead and say consolidated invoice. That'll have this shipment be consolidated, and then that invoice will be consolidated for both of those orders. All right, again, from ShipRush, once I ship this, it'll bring in that shipping agent code and shipping agent service code. Can also manually define that here. All right, and then my ship to emails. So this is who's going to get that advanced shipment notice. So maybe I want to add me as the salesperson. I could add the customer, and anyone else that needs to receive all of those documents. All right, and again, that tracking number would come back from ShipRush. All right, and then my freight charge option, so same as what we saw on the ShipRush side, either prepaid, collect, or third party. And then if it's going to be cash on delivery collect, if so, how much? And then that total weight of everything, so either manually entered here or coming back from ShipRush, and then that freight amount and that freight cost also coming back from ShipRush or manually being defined here. All right, and then my attachment, so what do I want to include in that advanced shipment notice? Again, at that other customer, I had set these as default on. For this one, they're default off, but I'll go ahead and include all of these to be attached in that advanced shipping notice there. All right, and then again, just viewing all of the orders from this one master document. So I've got my one order with the one line here. And if I click on that second line, it'll show that additional order with the line here. Should actually be all of them. Sales order might not have any items on it. All right, and then if you have any freight forwarders, I could go ahead and add that in here. So this would be a freight forwarder handling the actual shipping here. And then if so, just entering in that billing information. Right, and then after this does go out, it'll pull in with the actual date of arrival, the actual time, that delivery status, whether it be on time or late. And then if it is late, you can always add a late delivery reason here, as well as a comment. And then last four fields, claim needed, you can toggle that on if you need to submit a claim with the shipper, with the or the carrier, and then that trace number back from them. And then if they approve that, you can toggle that field on here. All right. And then from here, I can either post the shipment, or again, I could manually email that advanced shipment notice before it goes out. I can edit it before I send it, just to show it quick. All right, so it's going to go out to these two emails. One thing I didn't show, you have the ability to edit this message that goes out, just bringing in some wildcard fields. So it's bringing in that company name, my number of packages. Again, that weight and tracking number would come in if I had processed that through ShipRush, and then bringing in that reference number for the customer to reference back to this MSO. All right, and then again, you'll see those four attachments that I toggled on. So the commercial invoice, bill of lading, packing list, and certificate of origin here. I could also add additional files at this point or directly on the MSO itself. All right, and then the cutoff alert, again, an alert will go out before this cutoff date time, but if I want to manually kind of lock this down, I would go ahead and just email that cutoff alert, and then whoever the salesperson is would get a notice that this is about to be cut off. All right, and then from here, I can just go ahead and post this MSO, again, set to consolidated invoice, so this will make one invoice for all of the orders on this MSO. All right, and you'll see that status got updated to shipped. And then at that point, right, I could come back and update any of these fields as needed. All right, we're right at time here. Ben, I think you've got a little bit more you want to go over, so apologies there. But again, just a ton of information and really cool functionality to go through here. But I'll go ahead and pass that back to you, Ben.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, that was fantastic. And going to just jump back into a few kind of follow-up items for what we can do here for next steps, as well as some of the resources that you can find that'll help you be successful when using this in your demo. So the first thing I'm going to drop in the chat is our next two upcoming webinars. We've got one next week, which is actually a joint ISV to ISV webinar. So that's going to be that first link there if you're looking to automate your AR processes and cash collection with customer payment portals, things like that. And then the second one I dropped in there is our rental management, which is that upcoming one that Matt and I will be doing in 2 weeks. So like I said, next steps, download those 30-day free trials. For partners out there, you can download these directly into your demo instance. For end users, you can go straight into that sandbox environment and feel free to test. I'm going to drop a link in here that'll allow you to see those apps and download those apps. So again, going to be loading that chat up with a few links here. And then we've also got an activation video. So what that activation video is going to do is it's about 90 seconds long, and it'll show you exactly how to download that app and generate the demo so that you can use it for the next 30 days. After which, again, anytime during those 30 days, feel free to reach out to Matt or myself if you have any questions or you want to purchase that year-long license. So with that, I think we've got one more slide potentially on the resources. So again, I've pasted a lot of that into the chat already. The product page is in there, app source. Both of these are going to include summaries, screenshots, user setup guides, everything like that. We've got our YouTube channel, which is going to have all of our video walkthroughs, all of our demos, all of our Toolbox Tuesday recordings. So again, this is episode 25. This will be up there later this week. And then finally, the product guide. So if you do anything, download this product guide. It's going to give you a one-pager on all of the 30 plus apps that we have out on AppSource right now. It's going to give you standard implementation time so you can know what to expect when you jump into it, how long it's going to take to get set up, implemented, and go live, things like that. It's also going to include fit gaps. So kind of like we talked about today at the beginning of the call, what are the gaps? How do we solve those? And then, ask yourself some questions. So have you said these certain things? If so, distribution control center, for example, might be the right tool, or rental management that we're doing in a couple of weeks might be the right tool. So highly recommend downloading that product guide, checking out our YouTube channel, going through those videos and demos, and then of course, reviewing this webinar recording again. If you have any questions or you missed anything, joined late, had to leave early, things like that. So with that, we'll see if there's any more questions in the chat. Looks like we're getting a few thumbs up here. So I think everything's looking good. Again, we appreciate everybody coming out today to learn about 3 of our popular warehousing, distribution, and shipping tools. And we look forward to seeing everybody again soon on the next Toolbox Tuesday. Thanks, everybody.